Selection. In this lesson, you are going to learn what selection is, how it is used in programs, and how to program on the microbit with selection. In this lesson, you will define the term selection, identify the code for using selection on a microbit, and demonstrate using selection within an algorithm. So we're going to start by defining the term selection. So selection is the act of making a decision between different outcomes, and we do this using conditions. Now, a reminder as to what a condition is, it's a statement that is evaluated true or false. And you can see from the diagram here, we have different outcomes that can happen based on this decision here. An example of how this might look if we were to write it down, I start with if I clap my hands once, then the action or the outcome would be to stand up. The condition in this case is clapping my hands once. We can then add another condition in. In this case, if I clap my hands twice, and again the second outcome here is to sit down. And we've continued this with the third one, where I clap my hand 3 times, and we can continue doing this, introducing a new condition each time and a separate outcome. If all of this is, none of these are true, then the last statement will be the one that is run. In this case, there is no condition, but the outcome would be to raise both of the hands. Now on the microbit, this is how the code might look in this case. So we have our if statement to start with. Now our if statement is our selection. That's how we recognise a selection statement. The same as in our previous example where we had our if. We also had our else, but in between we had further else ifs, which are also part of our selection statement. We only have one condition on this case, and that condition is button A being pressed. Now if it's true, it produces the outcome string A. If it is false, it will produce the string dash, and these are our outcomes. So we're now going to identify the code for using selection on a microbit. So starting with our first menu, we must select first of all logic on the menu. And when we select logic, we get our selection statements up, our if statements up. Now, in both of these if statements, you can either use an input, and again, we're looking for the hexagon shapes that will fit in. So you can see we have a selection there that we can use in our inputs, or we can use our comparison, which you'll find in the same logic menu. And these comparisons will check whether an input or the value, check an input or the value of a variable. In our first case, we can use selection with just one condition. In this case, that condition is one of our inputs, button A being pressed. And the outcome for true would be our show string A in this case, and our outcome for false would be our show string dash. Now, if I wanted to increase this and introduce extra levels of selection, I must click on the plus sign at the bottom. By clicking on that, I can add further conditions, and this is how this would look. So in this case, we've got a selection with a first condition, in this case using a variable score and a comparison, in this case greater than 9, to have our first true outcome, which is show string big winner, but our false outcome leads us into a second selection statement, in this case with score greater than 5. And again, a second outcome for this one would be, or outcome for this one, for a true outcome would be show string winner, and then finally our false outcome, so you have not won. In this case, the order in which these conditions are run are important. If we had put, for example, score greater than 5 first, it would never have produced the outcome big winner, because it would never have reached it, because 9 is also greater, everything greater than 9 is also greater than 5. So it never would have introduced it. So therefore, our order is important here. So we're now going to have a look at using selection within an algorithm. So the task would be to complete these tasks on MakeCode. So you can use the link to the website there, or you can click on the link on ClassCharts. You must start at the developing level and work your way up to the mastered level, completing as many of the tasks on the way as you can. Developing level, your task is to first of all take this piece of code displayed here. You must get that piece of code copied onto MakeCode. Run the code on the emulator and have a look at what it shows. That's your first task. Once you have run it, you need to change it. And the changes that you will make is that it has now condition button B being pressed instead, and shows different icons for both the true and the false outcome. When you have completed that task, take a screenshot and upload that to ClassCharts. For secure, you're going to create an algorithm that displays, first of all, a smiley face if button A is pressed, a sad face if button B is pressed, an angry face if I shake the microbit, and a blank screen otherwise. A blank screen, a note, is LEDs without any of the lights on. Once you have completed this task, again, take a screenshot or photo and upload it to ClassCharts. Finally, for mastered, the task is to complete this code displayed on the right. Now, this code is for the game Rock, Paper, Scissors. You must copy it as it is, but then complete it. So the first thing will be to make a variable called choice. You can see the choice in the code there. Choice must be set to a random selection of either 1, 2 or 3. And you can do that using our pick random code there. You must then use if and else if statements to display the correct pictures. So you have to complete, if the first one has been done for you, you need to complete these further 2 in order to complete this code. Again, take a screenshot or photo of your code at each level for uploading to ClassCharts. Note in this code there is no else. Well, if you do have a piece of code with an else in it, you can delete it by selecting the minus. The last task is to complete your exit quiz. Now, the exit quiz you will find the link to on ClassCharts. When you have completed the quiz and submitted your answers, you must take a screenshot or photo of your answers. So not just your score, you must upload your answers so I can see which ones you got right and wrong. So to complete this lesson, you must submit your code from your developing task. You must submit code from your secure task, and if possible, secure for your mastered task. And finally, you must submit the score for your exit quiz. All of this will need to be completed for the lesson to be completed.